Hello, everybody, and welcome into Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented by Betway. My name is Nicholas Playlog. I am joined by co-host Adam Peddle. This has been a while in the making. First episode ever.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to channel a little Antonio Brown right now.
Oh no. What part of Antonio Brown are we channeling?
Well,
right
yeah,
now?
I do need to clarify, right? But all I wanted to say was it feels like generational run incoming with the start of this show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Generational runs are happening for the boys right now. This has been a long time in the making. I mean, we've been doing our Blue Jays Today podcast for almost 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
We've always said we wanted to do a MLB show. And finally, with the help of TNN, the Nation Network, we're finally able to get it up the ground. We have some other set ideas involved if you're watching on the video format. But yeah, the curtain's all behind us. TNN, the Betway sponsorship. That's obviously Betway. Shout out to Jared as well and Amel for helping set up the boys with us. Maddie as well. All the TNN team. And we're excited to finally get this going because the Jays kind of suck, so we got to talk about more than just the Jays.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's like we gotta be discussing baseball as a whole right now because our team is just not doing what they need to do. And you know what? For those new listeners right now, our background is Blue Jays fans. But we're going to do our best, I think, to leave the bias at the door as much as possible. However, I can't make any promises that there will be moments where potentially a little bit of Yankees hate seeps through. And honestly, a lot of Blue Jays hate's going to seep through as well because just the way that they're playing right now. I feel like I hate our team more 100%. Than other squads, 100%.
We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but, Ross Atkins, man, I think the entire city of Toronto, every Blue Jay fan out there has got their pitchforks, their torches, they're ready to go if he's not fired by the end of the season. We'll get into that much later. But yeah, the Yankees, I'm looking over there. I'm like, you know what? Good for you guys. You had a bad year last year. You made the trade for Juan Soto. Him and Aaron Judge back-to-back is just disgusting. That pitching staff is way better than I expected. And go ahead. And you're better than the Orioles.
Right.
You're better than the Orioles, and the Orioles
I didn't see that coming.
No.
I thought that especially after the Garrett Cole injury,
that's exactly what
I was right all over the Orioles train. Yeah. I mean, they're within a couple games of each other. So at any given point, one could go on a hot streak. I could still see the Orioles winning the American League East. But I mean, credit where credit is due right now. Gil on the Yankees.
Gil? I don't even know how you pronounce it. Louis Gil.
Whatever, man. That guy is all of a sudden incredible at baseball. He's the new Garrett Cole all of a sudden. And Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, holy shit. We knew it was going to be good. I didn't know it was going to be that good.
Giancarlo Stanton, dude, this guy hit a ball off the end of the bat for a home run. This guy mishit it, and it still went over the fence. I don't know how the hell he's revitalizing himself as the elite home run hitter from the past. I don't know how he's doing it. But look, and they're also getting Garrett Cole back.
That's true. He is starting to ramp up. I think he just had a recent outing, actually. I mean, I listen to them occasionally, but I know that you listen to John Boy and Talking Baseball and everything like that a bit more. Known Yankee stands over there, right?
That's right.
What is the vibes like for John Boy, for all those guys?
I mean, they're obviously optimistic.
Right.
I mean, every episode they get to talk about, the Yankees. They get really hyped up. They just did one of their, every Monday they start with the AL, but because the Yankees were over in San Fran this past weekend, they had to wait till the NL. And Jake was just hyped up. He's like, damn, I can't even talk about my Yankees right now. Can't talk about how Aaron Judge and, Soto are dominating right now. But I mean, dude, it's a great place to be if you're a Yankee fan right now. And very much the opposite if you're a Blue Jay fan.
It's kind of funny. I started this whole rant off by saying that there's going to be a lot of Yankees hate, and we just literally I
think we've exposed the truth of how we really feel.
Dude, we just went after it with the New York Yankees. So credit to the New York Yankees. Shout out to the fans, man. I mean, you guys I don't even want to say rough year last year because, again, for the majority of baseball teams, last year for you was a average to above average team for a lot of teams.
That we get that year for the Blue Jays. At least.
We won't, man. We're not gonna.
70-win team.
We're going to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays a little bit later because they are tying into some of the big topics that we want to discuss today. Trade deadline is coming up, everybody. There are some big names on the board. You're looking at the Mets. You are looking at the Blue Jays to be potentially really big sellers. You brought up the Giants. I mean, what's going on over there? They could be selling a couple pieces as well. So we want to get into some of the big names. We're also going to discuss a couple other things, a couple of the young stars in baseball. Paul Skeens to pull something out from Pat McAfee. What? Like, that guy is doing incredible right now. But
Paul Skeens was on Pat McAfee as well.
He was.
He was on Pat McAfee.
He was.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude. Shout out to Pat McAfee, man. I know he's probably not listening, but Pat McAfee is doing the best sports journalism on the planet right now.
Dude, I think he's transcending.
Yes.
From I'm painting this guy as like some religious figure or some shit.
He is to me.
No, seriously though, because I mean, like you're talking about a guy who was a punter in the NFL, right? A very good punter, mind you. Like the guy definitely had a couple years there. Played with Peyton Manning, all that stuff. But so he does that, and okay, a punter, whatever. Like I bet you couldn't even name me 5 punters right now in the NFL if you tried, right?
Can't even name my own punter on the
Literally,
Cardinals.
right? You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't do it. And so to go from that place and then to start your own show all about just football and now getting to a place too, because I've also seen recently like he's getting into the hockey space. He loves hockey, right? He loves hockey, and he's had Paul on.
Is he McDavid on?
I don't know about McDavid. I know for sure.
Reading or missing something.
I know for sure he's had Bryce Harper on. I've seen him talk to Bryce Harper, and I think he's got a couple other like bigger MLB stars as well. So just what he's doing, man, like we can only hope that bad for baseball, we're going to be there.
Once we get out of our living room and we have a few more opportunities for guests coming.
Yes.
Maybe that's the opportunity.
I agree, man. I agree. Let's get into the first talking point today. I mean, look, this entire podcast, this entire show presented by Betway, it only seems fitting that the first topic that we're going to discuss today has got to do with betting in the MLB. I mean, I feel like this year, especially after the entire Shohei Ohtani scandal, everything that went down there, betting as a whole is like, there's like a laser focus on it right now. And the MLB is cracking the whip. Maybe not to Mr. Shohei Ohtani. We'll get into more about that later and his translator and everything like that. Ridiculous stuff that went on there. But recently, I hope I pronounced this properly, Tucupita Marcano.
Yeah,
over
Marcano.
there, San Diego Padres, then Pittsburgh Pirates as well, got hurt. My guy, he went on a generational run of terrible, terrible betting, dude. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so first of all, Tucupita Marcano, the headline that kind of caught everybody is the fact he's been banned for life.
Yeah.
He's been banned for life from the MLB. Now, granted, he's no Shohei Ohtani. This guy hasn't been that really good. I mean, an OPS of 589 for his career. Not that good. So, like, that's the thing. It's like, you could feel okay with like banning this guy for life, but the amount of money that this guy bet on illegal gambling is just absurd.
I got it over 150K here.
150K, but the fact is he only won 4.3%. He only won 4.3% of the bet. So what happened was the majority of his bets. This okay. Let me give you some backstory. He tears his ACL. He's on the IL.
Terrible news
for him. Obviously, he's doesn't have much of a career to begin with, but he's got to get back, right? He's got to get back.
He's got to get on the field to play.
Back on the field. But while he's there, he's like, maybe he thought this. He's like, you know what? Maybe I'll never get back on the field. I gotta find another way to make money. But you cannot do this. MLB made it very strict where you cannot bet on anything baseball, no matter what. Okay? And he bets
even if you're not playing, even if you're not on the field. You're part of the organization, you can't do it.
Even if it's not your team. But here's the thing. He was on the Pirates when he tore his ACL, and he bet over $150,000 on games involving the Pirates.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if he was playing or not. You're still in with the organization. You're still a major league player, and you have inside information, and you get banned for life. It's a no fooling around policy. Like, you bet on baseball, you are cooked. And there's also 4 other guys around the league that have bet on baseball, not their own teams. You've got Kelly, you've got Groom, Rodriguez, Sal Frank. They've bet minor amounts of money, not $150,000, but they've been banned for 1 year for betting on other teams. But going back to Marcano, man, that is I'm thinking this guy's literally that exact same thinking. you tore your ACL. I got to make money somehow. But I don't know what he's betting on.
Well, okay.
You know what I mean?
Listen. Here's my take on this, okay? I understand that, you have your firm policy and MLB's got their thing and no gambling, and I get it. I do fully understand that. But hasn't this guy been punished enough?
No.
4.3% is what he won.
Well,
he was terrible. He was terrible.
You can't account for stupidity right there. Well, apparently, I was reading here. Apparently, what he bet on was wins or losses for the Pittsburgh Pirates while he was entirely injured, and then over on run totals. So, what kind of run total line are you taking?
Well, that's okay. This is what I'm wondering, right? Because 4.3%. I mean, we're betting guys here,
for sure.
And I'm not going to claim to be some genius or anything like that. I'm certainly not. In fact, I would argue that probably my winning percentage is below 50%. Like
Slightly,
maybe
I'd say.
45%, something like. I'm just taking a guess right now.
Yeah.
But 4.3%. This guy is so down bad I can't even imagine being that down bad in the hole.
I know. Well, gambling's a serious problem. Let's all talk about that.
Yeah, okay,
serious
yes.
problem. Like if you're betting $150,000 and this guy was set to make in 1 year $746,000.
That's like, what is that? Like a fifth of your holy
total
shit
contract. We're not even counting for taxes right now on top of that. So maybe it's even less than that, right? Or more than that. A fourth of your contract, and you're betting on that right now. For a guy who is not looking like he's going to have a promising career.
Right.
I mean, that's a serious problem. Let's get real for one moment. That is a serious problem.
Yeah, of course it is.
But
of course.
it's a serious problem to influence the game of baseball. There's no fooling around. And I think the ban is more than deserved. You can't do that.
Ultimately, I agree with the ban. I do. I get it. And, when you're betting that, those large sums of money, it makes sense. But I can't help but, maybe the little gambler in me can't help but feel just a little bad for the guy. He tears his ACL. He shouldn't be doing it. I'm not saying I'm not condoning the action, but 4.3% is sad, man. I can't imagine logging into my my Betway account and still going after it after I'm winning 4.3%.
Like a lot of our friends partake in sportsbook, and I will say I'll speak for a lot of my friends. A lot of them are reasonably responsible. We're not betting a lot.
Right, of course.
But like if my friend was betting a quarter of his yearly earnings, I gotta sit down with that guy, especially if he's only winning 4.3%.
Yeah.
I mean, does he let the group chat know?
Dude, well, listen, I really truly believe, or I hope anyways, that this guy was taking bets that was like plus 5,000.
Well,
because
that's the thing.
Because if you were taking bets that were, negative or, like plus 100 or like kind of like even money, the run of terrible luck that you must have been on to get to this place, that is so bad.
I'm a big odds guy, and it's like you have to be taking such high odds.
You must.
Literally, most of the bets he bet on, like I said, it was win or loss, Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, or run line.
And parlayed with a run total over-under. So what is that over that you're doing, dude? You're the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yes.
You're not scoring a lot of runs.
Maybe he was taking their under. Well, no, because then he probably would be winning.
That's the thing.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
He's too optimistic. And then there you go. That's the delusionalness.
Well, I mean, moving on to the Michael Kelly. I was looking at Michael Kelly because he was one of the other guys. He got a year ban. Okay, so he got, and again, I understand why the MLB has to do this. I get it. I truly do. But Michael Kelly, like, it's not even remotely close to the same stuff that Tucapita. He placed 10 bets. Apparently, 10 bets, on MLB games that he's never part of, by the way. Not that changes anything for the MLB, right? They have the rules, but he was never a part of them. He never influenced them. And his average bet was $9.92, and he had a net win of $28.30. And
effectively lost like $70. Roughly.
Was that just
net. He netted out like $28.
Oh, okay, I thought that was like he made profit there. Maybe,
you could be right.
I'm not. Again, I don't know.
That sounds like my sports book.
It really wasn't a significant amount of money, and again, like, I understand that they gotta crack the whip. They gotta get their rules in. I almost wonder though if it's like, like maybe an amount of money or the amount of times that you do it or something impacts the amount of punishment, because 1 year for him, like, that it does seem a little excessive if you're betting $9, but I understand that they have the rules and everything.
You can't even have the gray, like, where's the gray area if you start establishing how much, like, we're allowing it, but like how much, and then that, like, a lot of people, would be frowning upon that kind of rule, to like, because then it's somewhat encouraging it, because then you might get people, they start a little bit low and then like, okay, now I'm gonna bet a little bit more,
right?
Bet a little bit more, right? But I think it's a pretty clear rule. 1 year if it's on other teams that you're not a part of. Full lifetime suspension, banishment if it's on your team.
Well,
that makes sense.
I also, it's kind of mixed messages, because you're saying you'd be encouraging it, right, if you took the rule, and I agree with you. But it's also too, we gotta look at the MLB, we gotta look at the stadiums, we gotta look at the commercials. There's like 6 or 7 betting sponsors associated with the MLB, probably even more than that.
Oh, I know, I agree, but again, like, yeah. I mean, that's for the fans. It's the same thing. Like, how many beer sponsors are out there? Are players drinking alcohol on the field? It's the same kind of thing.
Well, who knows, man?
I mean,
the way that some of these teams have been playing, right? Chicago White Sox. If I was one of those,
you might need to dip into the whiskey.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Listen, just to wrap up this betting conversation, I've always thought this, and again, I know it's never gonna happen, folks. It's literally never gonna happen. And we were literally talking about this last night. But as far as betting goes, I've always thought that if you're a player in the league, you should be allowed to take your over. Your over. Nobody else is over, just your over. That's it. You can't talk to anyone about it. You take your over. Because that's basically what you're doing anyways.
Then you get into another gray area, because, like I mentioned, we talked about this on the Blue Jays Today show, where I was like, okay, well, what if I go talk to, a buddy from AAA over here who's going to pitch against me, and I'm going, hey, man, I'm about to drop $1 million on, I just need 1 hit today. Give me a cookie down the middle. I will split with you this profit.
Well, but here's the thing.
How do you know?
You can't do that.
Well,
that's the thing. You can't do that.
That's where it becomes gray area, because how do you enforce that? Yeah, that's when you get
into
a lot of trouble.
I understand. Like, I get that it will never happen. In theory, I think it should be allowed, because, and I was talking about this too with you last night. A contract year, going into a contract year, is basically like you're betting your over. Because in that contract year, if you hit all of your season-long overs and everything like that, you're going to get a massive payday. If you don't, if you suck and you don't hit home runs and whatever you're striking out, you're not going to get a massive payday.
Right.
You're almost like placing a bet. Almost.
I hear what you're saying, but then again, like, that's with your organization, that's with your team, and not with an outside sports book.
Yeah.
Right?
Listen, I agree with you. It's never going to happen.
We just want to watch that. We want to watch Vladdy in the pregame interviews be like, hey, I got the over for me today.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, wouldn't that be a great time? He's like, everyone, smash my over. I'm hitting one today.
It would also be a great time if guys were like shotgunning beers after they hit a home run. They go to home plate, Selly,
Well, I mean, the Baltimore Orioles, like, they
kind of do it, but with water.
They do. It's like you can tell that they're like flirting with the line right there. Like they're kind of playing with it. Yeah. So, I mean, shout out to them, man. The Baltimore Orioles are one of the most exciting teams in baseball. And speaking of exciting youth and everything like that, I want to move on and talk about. Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to talk about Ipe, right? Before we wrap up the betting conversation.
Yeah. Like, one last thing, guys. I know we all remember the Ipe stuff. Fell on a sword for Shohei Ohtani. You could feel however you feel about it, whether Ohtani did it or not. Maybe there's a lot of gray lines here. Apparently didn't bet on baseball, so apparently we're okay. But Ipe, this came out, so he pleaded guilty recently, the exact same time that Tupacana, or whatever his name, I totally butchered his name, Marcano, got caught. But there's more to this, guys, really quickly. Right here, this is an article, and right here he said he spent money to cover his own gambling bets, depths, with an illegal bookmaker, plus $325,000 worth of baseball cards, and, to the shock of the prosecutors, his own medical bills. So not only was he stealing $17 million, which is the final total that he wired from Shohei Ohtani's account, not only was it to gamble, but to cover his own debts, and to buy baseball cards and his medical bills. So this guy was literally, first of all, gambled away probably everything he has, because how much money is this dude have? He's probably got so much money.
Well, he certainly doesn't have $17 million, because he had to apparently take it from Shohei Ohtani.
So clearly he's got so much debt. I don't know how he's getting these loans from the bank, if that's what it is. And then he's got medical bills, he's got everything. He's literally stealing from his best friend Ohtani, and
well, again,
he's guilty to it.
And that's the thing. Like, if all of this is true and everything like that, then absolutely that's what happened. I always come back to, and I know that Shohei Ohtani makes an absurd amount of money, more money than I could even fathom having coming into my account on a monthly basis.
For sure.
It's just like, isn't it hard to believe that 17 million just evaporated and you didn't know? But like 17 million is a big fucking chunk of money.
I've also wondered, like, why is it that like no one's talking about how Ipe has access to this account?
Right.
How does Ipe have access to this account? Right. And if he didn't have access to this account, let's say, because if I'm Shohei Ohtani, I'm giving my account to, you know, a trusted accountant,
right,
to manage my finances. If that was the case, why is no one flagging this?
Yeah, like, don't I have like some representative in charge of, you know, all of my monies being like, hey, Shohei, like, you know, did you put $4 million on the over last night? Because that's a problem.
Yeah, literally, dude. I when I bought this laptop right here, I got flagged like, hey, $1,000+ just left on your credit card.
Imagine 17 million.
Yeah, like, oh, $500,000 got wired over here. I'd be getting flagged all the time. But then again, maybe it's Shohei Ohtani's getting flagged all the time.
Right.
He's got such a big payroll, you know.
Yeah.
Regardless, it's sketchy. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't want to be out here throwing any accusations.
No, at this point, there's no accusations to throw. Ipe has pled guilty. That's what it is. I mean, he's decided that's what it's going to be. So if that's exactly what happened, then, you know, sucks to suck, man. You know, that's just ridiculous.
Wow.
Is he going to do jail time? Do we know?
Good question.
Is that what's going to happen?
I don't know if that's come out yet, but
because I mean, technically speaking, like,
you stole $17 million.
That's kind of a lot of money. So.
I'm looking around here. I mean, he is technically an immigrant, and this happened in the United States.
Well,
so there could be some deportation, obviously, and who knows?
Yeah,
I'm not too sure. I'm looking at this article. I don't see anything right now.
Well, if you're aware of what type of punishment Ipe is going to have to deal with, please let us know in the comments. If you are watching on YouTube, this is also a great opportunity for us to shout out ourselves, asking you guys to hit the subscribe button, smash the like button on this video if you've been enjoying this conversation so far. We are going to be having one episode every single week on Thursdays for a while, and eventually, hopefully, getting that up to 2. Let's move on to the next topic here. I want to talk a little bit about Paul Skeens, like we brought up, because just yesterday, this was such a good highlight. 1, 2, 3. Fastball, fastball, fastball. I know that you were telling me that like Talking Baseball gives out awards and stuff like that, and I know Good Morning Football, they give out awards and stuff. So I'm going to give out a little award right here, my own personal award to Paul Skeens, the biggest ball sack, like just the largest ball sack that I've ever seen award. That's what we're going to call it. Largest ball sack I've ever seen award. Because to throw 3 straight fastballs to Shohei freaking Ohtani and to get that guy striking out the first time that you've ever seen him, that takes a lot of balls.
I mean, it's your best pitch.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to overpower time. But you know, I just thought of an award right here, too. I'm going to give the Big Dick Award to Shohei Ohtani with the very next at-bat because big dick, big brain. You know, let's do a little combo.
You can have both.
Big brain. You can absolutely have both. That's what Ohtani's got. Big dick, big brain. Because his next
comment down below if you have both.
If you got or email us. Big dick, big brain award goes to Ohtani.
Right.
Because this dude is very next at bat. What does he get the first pitch? What do you think he's gonna get?
Yeah.
Another 100-mile-per-hour fastball, and guess what? Homer.
Yeah.
Launches it.
Yeah.
Because he knows, well, you can't do that to me again.
Well,
my dick's bigger than yours. My brain's bigger than yours.
Literally,
and I
dude.
know it's coming.
Listen, I think that was the best thing that could have happened to Paul Skeens, seriously, because that was a little bit of a wake-up call to the MLB.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's, again, like, incredible job. 3-pitch strikeout on Shohei Ohtani. Not a lot of people could say that they have ever done that or ever will do that. So to do that in your first inning, obviously you're feeling gassed up. Then Mookie Betts gets on base. Shohei Ohtani's at the full count. You think that you can get it by him again. That's Shohei Ohtani. That's a different guy right there. Big dick, big brain. He goes yard off of you. I mean, honestly, like, that's got to be a little bit of a humbling moment for Paul Skeens to go, hey, listen, I am the guy right now. Like, everyone, like, all of MLB is looking at me.
Right.
But that's also still Shohei Ohtani.
Well, you have Skeens coming out afterwards talking about that exact at-bat, saying, he literally said, I like to call it big on big. What we like to call is big dick, big brain.
Right.
And he goes on to say, because I obviously beat him a couple times earlier, the 22-year-old Skeens said, I think that was the right pitch to throw there. He's just a pretty darn good hitter. Stuff like that's going to happen. That's actually a pretty big brain for Paul Skeens to realize that you're a 22-year-old. You're going to get beat up by guys like Shohei Ohtani, and you move on from it.
Yeah.
Move on from it.
Well, I honestly, I kind of have a crush on Paul Skeens, to be completely honest. Like, I'm falling in love with him as a player and as a guy. I like everything about him, and I think that he's like, he is going to be, in my opinion, one of the new faces of baseball, right? And, like, let's think about all this, right? A top prospect. The guy is incredible right now. I mean, the mustache is fucking iconic.
Elite.
Okay, the mustache is absolutely iconic. I mean, the guy is dating, effectively a celebrity at this point. So all of this is like, literally, all of this is like, coming together right now to be like the next face of baseball.
Yep.
And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it.
I think Verlander. Give me a lot of Verlander vibes.
Right, yeah.
Garrett Cole with the Pirates, I get a lot of those vibes.
Yeah,
Paul Skeens.
sure.
Now, my biggest worry about Paul Skeens, and this has been a topic of like baseball this year, I think especially with
101 miles per hour.
This guy's throwing 100 miles per hour every single time.
Yeah.
Your elbow, I don't care who you are, I would be shocked if this guy didn't go under the knife in the next 5 years. I would be shocked.
Me too, dude. I mean,
you can't keep throwing 100 miles per hour. And look, I want him to succeed. I want the best for him, absolutely. But at some point, like, his arm will explode.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just bound to happen, right? And this is just a human body thing, right? There's nothing that you can do. But unless you're literally made of titanium, you are going to break eventually if you are throwing that quick, that consistently. I'm kind of surprised, to be completely honest, that the Pittsburgh Pirates coaching staff, pitching staff, everything like that hasn't had. I mean, maybe they have. Maybe they have had conversations about that.
Yeah.
But it's also like, what do you even do? Like, do you just tell him, okay, from now on, you're going to throw 5 miles slower? Like, part of what makes him great is the fact that you throw that 101 miles per hour, right? Like, that's part of what makes you so good at baseball, because there's not a lot of guys that can do that as consistently as you. So it's like, do you want to tap into that greatness consistently and really see what his ceiling could be, risking the Tommy John, eventually going to happen? Or, do you try to pull him back a little bit and go for the longevity? I don't know.
Because that's what I'm worried about is, like, A, he's 22.
Yeah, he is.
B, he throws 100. And this is his first MLB season. How many innings is he going to throw? I don't know. I mean, I'm looking right now, and his split finger pitch works really well.
Dude, I wrote that down. 32% of the time he throws that. It's got a batting average against of 0.61.
Right.
So that's the thing. Everybody talks about the fastball, which is incredible, but he does have other stuff.
But, like, people hit the fastball, yes. Like, it's got a batting average here of, like, 289. Right? So it's like, okay, of course, if you gear up for the 100-mile-per-hour fastball, like, major league hitters nowadays will tend to hit it.
And considering how fast it's coming, all you got to do is just touch that thing. And it's going to go.
But a 94-mile-per-hour split finger pitch. Gosman throws like 87, 88 maybe when he's at his best. This guy throws 94 with that. So you got to imagine at some point.
Just like kind of lean into it.
You need to almost reduce the velocity. I mean, that's still a good pitch.
Yeah.
As long as you can locate it well. And, dude, he locates his fastball. That's another great thing. Like, if you could just locate that pitch. Actually, I'm looking right now at his heat map. He just pumps it down the middle of the fastball.
It's 101, bro.
Of course you could throw it down the middle, but you eventually got to get a point where you do that, because I would be concerned. It's obviously not a concern right now.
Yeah.
But for the future of the Pirates organization, I think you got to monitor this and the innings limit. You got to monitor it all.
It is scary, in the place that baseball is going with all these pitchers, man. Like, it feels like every single year, too, it's less and less and less innings from your starters, right? Like, there used to be guys that were, getting close to 300 innings in a season, and that just never happens
now
anymore.
You're throwing 100.
Exactly,
Back
right?
in the day, like, 90 was a lot. And
literally.
You could throw 250 innings a year.
100%, right? So, I mean, and that does kind of suck, because, like, I miss the days of having that guy that is just so dominant and is going 7 or 8 innings like every single day, and that just isn't what the MLB is anymore. I think eventually they're going to need to tackle this, because, like you're saying, 101 is not sustainable. If you want to have a career in the MLB, over 10 years, which everybody thinks that you are capable of doing with the stuff that you're doing at 22 years old, everyone believes that you're going to be that guy. Adjustments will probably need to be made.
See, I wonder if eventually MLB would step in and make a rule at one point, because there's been a conversation about we need more offense, and the reason why we're not getting a lot of offense because we got guys like Paul Skeens coming up throwing 100 miles per hour.
Right.
And I saw an article, I forget who wrote it, but it was an opinion piece saying, well, maybe they should influence a rule that's, well, if you throw over 95, that's, that counts as a ball, right? And it's
really,
yeah.
wow.
And that would, obviously increase a lot of batters' batting averages.
Yeah.
It would reduce injury because I could see, imagine a year, this is when MLB steps in, a year where you've got Paul Skeens, he goes down on the IL. And then you got, I don't know what other young pitchers are in the league, right?
Jared Jones.
Jared Jones.
Over on the Pittsburgh Pirates.
He goes on the IL, right? You got a lot of guys going down. Oh, because they're throwing so hard.
Right.
That's when the MLB would step in and maybe do something. I don't think it's going to happen in the next near future.
No, I also think, too, like, a rule like that would be just so
tough.
it would change.
It would change baseball
everything.
completely.
It would change everything, right? So,
but it would absolutely increase offense dramatically. Now, I think it would. Like, it's one of those things where it's like immediately my gut reaction goes like, no, don't do that. Because,
right.
like, that's, we're limiting the potential, but it's also you're saving injury. You're creating longer careers. You're keeping the stars in the game, and you're getting offense back.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Again, guys, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below about this entire conversation. What should they do about these injury concerns with the pitchers, folks? I want to move on and talk about some trade stuff. The trade deadline is looming. It's coming up right at the end of July is when it is going to be. We are at June 6th right now, so less than 2 months away. And this is kind of that part of the MLB season where you're looking at the standings, you're looking at the squads that are at the top of their divisions, that are winning a lot of games, and going, okay, well, clearly those guys are going to be buyers. As much as I would love for the, Baltimore Orioles to be sellers, it ain't going to happen. They're going to be buying, right? And there's a lot of other teams that you can look at and going, okay, they are going to be buyers. And alternatively, on the flip side of things, you're starting to look at some squads and going, they could be sellers. We got a couple articles that have been coming out really recently at who are the top names right now on the trade market. And the first team that I do want to talk about, because, we are so closely connected to them, is the Toronto Blue Jays, right? There's an article here by Bleacher Report just going through like the top 30 players right now who could be available come trade deadline. There's like 5 or 6 Toronto Blue Jays on that list.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'll start from the bottom here. Blue Jays have a lot of guys on a 1-year contract, and it's really enticing when you do see a lot of these guys. I don't even think this guy's on the list, but you got Jimmy Garcia. He's not even on this list. Jimmy Garcia.
Right.
He's a great trade piece for the Toronto Blue Jays. I don't think this guy's on the list either, but Kevin Kiermaier, you can get something from him, like a cash or anything right from him.
Potentially.
But the big names that are coming up here is you got Danny Jansen. Danny Jansen, as we know, is the stud, the star of the Toronto Blue Jays that not a lot of people recognize because he's carried this pitching staff for the last 6 years. And he's up on a 1-year deal. This dude's absolutely slugging right now. He's got a slugging of .533. Batting average, this is what gets me all the time, of .295. Last year of his contract. Even if you have a catcher, you could put this guy in the DH role.
Sure.
He hasn't been DHing much for the Toronto Blue Jays, but that's an easy DH slot. This guy's batting second for the team when he is playing.
Yeah.
That guy would be a tough grab, but if we are the Toronto Blue Jays, if they are going to be selling at the deadline, they got to think hard about, because they want to extend this guy. Do they just send him off and trade him away and get what you can?
Yeah. The Blue Jays GM, Ross Atkins, has recently come out, and he is trying to, he's trying to stop all this conversation, right?
He's talking about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette.
But he also, I think that he has made it very clear that he's trusting the process, trusting this team. He's not ready to have any of those selling conversations or anything like that at this point. At least that's the vibe that I got. Now it has been reported that if the Toronto Blue Jays are still bad at baseball in about a month, then this is when all those conversations are going to seriously start happening about Danny Jansen and Yusei Kikuchi and everything like that. Part of me, as much as I want the Toronto Blue Jays to turn it around, because again, that's our background, that's the fan in us. Just from a baseball standpoint, I do think it would actually be extremely entertaining if the Toronto Blue Jays entered into sell mode, because very few times do you have a team that has so much talent on paper that is in a sell mode, right? Because you do have Danny Jansen, you do have Yusei Kikuchi. Yeah. You could still entertain those conversations of Bo and Vlad, depending on where they're at. So there's a lot of guys that could potentially get moved.
See, I think from a rumor standpoint and this podcast standpoint, the rumors are going to be flying off the charts.
Sure.
For Bo and Vlad, but they're not going anywhere. But we could talk about it as much as possible. They're just not, because like Ross Atkins says, it just does not make any sense for us, because they still have him for another year after this, and they've invested, almost $250 million into this team to be competitive. It doesn't make any sense for them to sell off the star players, because then guess what? Ticket sales goes away, and that's kind of what it comes down to for these Toronto Blue Jays. We got to sell tickets in Toronto and fill up seats. You trade those guys away, literally nobody will come to the games anymore, and you invested already so much money into all the other pieces on the team. It just doesn't make. That's why it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I do hear where he's coming from in that regard, but it kind of feels like the Blue Jays right now are, and I thought about this analogy this morning, they're a year removed from where the New York Mets are right now almost. And the way that I'm talking about that is you're looking at two rosters that have bought a lot of pieces, that have a high payroll. Mets walking into last year, they were a squad to look at. They were getting World Series, votes and everything. Like, people were really thinking that they were going to go all the way. And then it just completely fell off a cliff, and they were starting to sell off some of their 1 years and whatever last year.
Right.
And now, because, at the time they didn't want to do the full rebuild, now you're looking at Pete Alonso and, several other of those big pieces over there on the New York Mets potentially going. And I looked it up this morning, man. There are articles on articles on articles talking about how they are going to enter into a fire sale.
Yeah.
They are another team to really be paying attention to when it comes to trade deadline.
Well, Pete Alonso especially, he's number 5 on the Bleacher Report article.
As he should be.
Absolutely. This guy has 13 homers, 30 RBIs. That'd be up there for literally leading the Toronto Blue Jays. Yeah, a lot of teams could use a Pete Alonso. DH rules kind of expanded that for all of MLB teams. Like, everyone's got a first baseman, but not everybody has a solid DH.
Right.
And I think if I'm the New York Mets, yeah, you're right. He's on his 1 year deal. He's on his last year deal. If you are not considering, or you should be considering signing him back, but if he's not going to accept a offer right now, you have to trade him away. You got to clear payroll. You just got to start to rebuild a little bit if you're the New York Mets.
Well, the New York Mets are a prime example, in my opinion, and it sucks, but it's also good because it promotes building properly.
Look at the Baltimore Orioles, for example.
Yeah.
Yes, you went through the worst 8 years ever after the Blue Jays beat you in the wild card. They did a whole rebuild. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you started to see the bloom. 23, they exploded. 24, they're here now. It was a long time, but they did it right. They did it like the Houston Astros did it earlier in the 2010s. And you can't buy a team.
No. That's the thing. The Mets can't. However, let me put it this way, and it's sorry to cut you off there, but Texas Rangers, they're kind of the flip side of the coin. Now, they did have some people and some homegrown talent, but so did the Mets. Pete Alonso's a homegrown talent. There's some other stuff in there that was homegrown. And Texas Rangers bought a lot of pieces, win a chip, right? So there's two sides of the coin here.
No, absolutely. And I do think few and far between that the buying strategy, like you see it more times than not work. Unless, because here's the thing, if you're the Dodgers, you can buy the world and you're attractive to a lot of free agents, right? Texas started to become attractive to free agents because they had the money. No, it's not a lot of taxes there in Texas. They started to become attractive market. Whereas the Toronto Blue Jays, we're seeing the flaw of you're buying a middle-aged center fielder where it's the toughest position in baseball on your body, and you're aging, you're not aging right, you're getting injured. You're buying Kevin Kiermaier. You're going out, you're getting older pitchers. I mean, the pitching staff is old on this team.
It is. I think that we're the third, or the Blue Jays are the third oldest team in baseball.
Third oldest team. And that's what you're seeing right now. Whereas, on the flip side, you look at the Orioles, one of the more younger teams in baseball. Maybe the Pittsburgh Pirates being one of the more younger pitching staffs in baseball. You're starting to see that a trend is forming here where, yes, early on, the Blue Jays were one of the youngest, but you needed to keep up that wave of young talent through the system in order for it to work. Because now you're filling up your entire team, the Toronto Blue Jays, with all these guys that are old and they're costing a lot, and you're seeing the downside where now you have to play these guys, and now you're losing, and now you're forced to sell off and be in these rumors like Bo Bichette and Vladdy.
Yeah, 100%, man. And it is going to be exciting to see where they go. Circling back to the Mets, obviously Pete Alonso is the big name, but one guy that I was looking at there, And I actually completely forgot that he wasn't even on this team. And that just goes to show my ignorance, probably because the Mets have been playing really bad, but I haven't been paying full attention to them. But JD Martinez is doing it again. He just never stops doing it, man. That is going to be a great pickup for whoever gets him.
He got off to a slow start. I have him on fantasy, so I know.
Right. There you go.
Slow start, but yeah, he's got a 328 on base, 484 slugging, 279 batting average. Yeah, and he's paid through 2024. And look, it's not that much, 12 million. That's the base, right? 4.5 million this season and 1.5 annually. So you get like a really nice deal if you do trade for this guy. That's a great piece right there. Again, DH kind of role could be coming in there. This is another guy, Jock Peterson.
Right.
Jock Peterson. This dude has a 404 on base, a 542 slugging. So what does that put his OPS? Doing some quick math, 946?
That's his fucking OPS?
And you got to imagine it's a low.
Are you kidding me?
His on base is 404. I'm reading this article here. I don't know how many at-bats this guy has right now.
Okay, it's updated a little bit. It's 899 right now, but that is still ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And his contract is $9.5 million this year. And then he's got a $14 mutual option for 2025.
Wow.
So that's a great selling piece if you're the Diamondbacks, if you are going to be out of it a little bit.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of those fringe teams, because like the Diamondbacks, again, like they're definitely not having the season that they hoped for. 29-33, honestly, kind of right around where the Toronto Blue Jays are. And they should be doing a lot better than that. But a squad that I was looking at, and there's not a whole lot of their names on this Bleacher Report list, and maybe it's because analysts are looking at them and going, well, you know what, they're going to figure it out. But the Houston Astros right now are 28-35. Yeah. That is not very good. They are 4-6 in their last 10. They are 7 games back in their division. They're obviously, pretty far out of it in terms of the wild card as well. There is still a lot of talented pieces on that roster. I'm not saying that Houston would go into a full-on rebuild because you got Yordan forever. I think a really important thing that you do need to do is get Kyle Tucker locked down to eternity. Give that guy all the money in the world because his contract will be coming up eventually.
Yeah.
But over on those Houston Astros, right, the pitching staff, a lot of injuries, a lot of poor performances. It just kind of fell off completely, and it feels like, this might not be their year. They could be right back again next year. But could you see the Houston Astros potentially selling off a couple pieces come trade deadline, or just riding with the process?
See, it's tough to say what are those pieces,
right?
What I mean, because they have a lot of guys that they're not selling Yordan.
They would not sell Kyle Tucker either.
They're not going to do it because, if you look at their run differential, they're -3. Right. And we have a better record than them, and our run differential is -44. Us being the Toronto Blue Jays. So it's there, and you look at the AL West too. The Seattle Mariners are 35-28. They're running away with the division right now. They got really hot, 8-2 in their last 10. But then you have the Texas Rangers that are 30-32, the second place team. So it's not completely out of range for you, and you've invested a lot of money in this team. I wouldn't go so far say they need to start selling off pieces because this is a blip in their crazy tenure of making the ALCS how many years in a row. I wouldn't be worried. They do got to figure out the pitching staff too. Hunter Brown had a good year last year, and then just what happened? I don't know. It's one of those like Alek Manoah things where it's like, this guy looks promising, and then what?
Yeah,
no idea.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on all that, dude. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if Houston had, because again, I'm not so familiar with the roster that I don't know all like their little intricate 1-year deals, their bullpen situation.
Let us know, guys, if you are Houston fans.
But I wouldn't be shocked to see them send off 1 or 2 guys, but they're not going to do like a big sell or anything like that. I think a team, and you really never see them buy at all, but I think a squad that needs to buy this year, Cleveland Guardians, man. Like they have not had a season like this in a while. 40-20 is their record. That is incredible. Wow. They are crushing their division. I mean, I hope that they buy, even though it's not in their mentality or identity or anything like that. But, honestly, it's a little refreshing if Cleveland, for instance, was going to be a squad that made it deep in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm taking a look right now. I mean, their pitching staff's like 7th in baseball ranked in terms of ERA. They're third tied in runs scored.
Dude, their offense is actually going crazy.
Josh Naylor's going nuts.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jose Ramirez is going nuts. I think Armand Rosario is having a really great year too as well. Who do they buy? I mean,
more. Just, you know what?
If they got the money
more,
for it, I don't even know.
Right? It's like that. Look,
Maybe they could buy back Francisco Lindor and run it back. 2016.
Yeah. Take him back from the New York Mets, man.
Yeah, why not?
How much? That guy gets paid a dumb amount of money.
Yeah, but they couldn't afford it.
No, they couldn't. They couldn't afford him, man.
Also, one name on this list, going back to the Toronto Blue Jays, you got Chris Bassett on this list by Bleacher Report, ranked 12.
Right.
That kind of seems off for me. Again, they're trying to pick apart the Toronto Blue Jays.
I hear where they're coming from in that regard. Because again, like if it really is like genuinely very bad, like I could see it. And again, you've included Bo Bichette and you've included Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on this list of potential players that could go. So if you're going to do that and you're going to sell those guys, well, why not Chris Bassett too? You know, so like if we're really going to go down that road, sure, I see it. I was also looking at their list too. Jack Flaherty's on that list. Pittsburgh Pirates are 31-31 right now, or not Pittsburgh Pirates, excuse me, Detroit Tigers, 31-31 right now. I don't actually see Detroit like being a full sell team anymore. Like I know, they were for a very, very long time, but there is starting to be at least a little bit of promise there for Detroit. I mean, they potentially could even have a Cy Young right now. I wouldn't be selling if I was them.
See, he's got a 1-year deal, and you look at the Central. Central's not a joke anymore. Like you said, Cleveland Guardians 40-20,
right?
Kansas City Royals 36-26. The Twins, I believe they're in a wild card spot as we're speaking. Let me flash over here, but they got a good record too. They actually just got bumped out. They're still 33-28. The Tigers, yes, they're right there. They're 2.5 games out of a wild card spot. I think you compete until the month of June comes up, and wherever we are at the month of June, we gotta figure out because. You gotta see. Again, 1-year deal, right?
Look, I do hear where you're coming from. I guess looking at, I was saying the same thing about Cleveland. For Detroit, you have been in sell mode for years upon years upon years. You finally have somewhat of a squad. If you are only 2.5 games out of the wild card, come trade deadline, fucking buy.
Yeah,
buy. Don't sell, buy.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, man, they have a lot of unfortunate stuff right now. Like Javier Baez is like,
well, we don't even need to talk about that.
Well, you gotta talk about it because you got him struggling. Torkelson has a negative career WAR in 3 seasons. They just optioned him back down to AAA.
Yes.
Like a lot of things didn't go right, so there's still missing pieces on that team. But maybe you consider it. Again, the thing is, it's such a tough division. It's up to the general manager. Again, and I'm going to lean towards they're probably not going to.
Well, let me put it this way, okay? Detroit right now, they're ranked 11th in ERA, team ERA. They're ranked 24th in OPS, okay? So, I go back to that list, JD Martinez. That guy's not going to cost a lot in terms of trade, but he will help a team out immensely. Trade for JD Martinez. Get him on.
Would that be enough to send a?
I don't know if it's going to be enough, but you could still go on a run if you're that close. You get 1 or 2 little pieces. It's not going to cost you that much. Like I don't think every single time that you go in or that you buy, you need to. Buy the biggest name. You don't need to buy the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or the Louis Robert Jr. or whatever to, go all in here. For Detroit, I'm not saying, sell the farm here, but, buy a Jock Peterson, buy a JD Martinez. Give yourself a fighting chance. I think the fans over at Detroit deserve at least a fighting chance rather than selling.
I mean, it would be, they got to go on a run. That's it for me. Like, they actually got to be back in it. Because again, that division's really gross, and buying it, they need to buy multiple pieces in that offense. The other offense is really, no offense, it is not that good right now. It falls off, man. I mean, they have Gio Urshela batting 4th for them.
Oh, I know, but now you have JD Martinez. If you made a trade like that,
but one guy is think about the Toronto Blue Jays. Getting one guy will help a little bit, but I don't think it's not going to fix the whole problem, right?
I hear what you're saying, but if you can be in and around that, 2.5 games back and everything like that, You buy somebody, your team gets a little bit of momentum, you get a little hype. Okay, we're for the first time, right? So like for the first time since I've been on the Detroit Tigers for some of those guys, instead of calling it quits, we're actually going to play the last 2 months of baseball. That might even be a little bit of an energy momentum shift in its own right.
Right. I mean, if the price for like a JD Martinez is cheap or Jock Peterson, if it's cheap, sure, because again, they're the 5th ranked prospect pool in all of baseball. I'd almost be banking on like that next wave again.
Well, I'm not
more sustained run. Right?
I would not be trading away a top 100 prospect for JD Martinez or anything like that.
A 28 or something. Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, matter. It's like it's a small buy. It might not do anything. You might still not make playoffs. But if you made wild card, like what that would mean for, I think, your city and, your whole team and just you even entering the offseason, you make wild card, you get swept in the wild card. That's still a huge W for Detroit and Detroit fans.
You know what I think they need to do? Then it'll be another huge W. I think they need to, they can't buy out Javier Baez, but they need to rework that contract to pay him out like $2 million a year for 30 years, whatever that is, because he's batting 8th.
I know.
He's batting 8th for the Detroit Tigers. Flashing over to his stats, his OPS is 463 and 179 at bats.
No, it's truly atrocious.
You got to get rid of him.
Javier Baez.
Like we talk about George Springer clogging up the lineup, and he's actually trying. This guy doesn't care anymore.
No, he doesn't, dude.
Right?
He actually
doesn't care.
It's abundantly clear that Javier Baez stopped giving a fuck about baseball
as soon as he put pen to paper.
Literally, dude. Like if I had a doesn't give a fuck award, it would go to Javier freaking Baez, man.
Fucks given.
Literally though, like he doesn't. He has. There's nothing left, man. He gave them all in Chicago, and there's nothing left to give. Apparently,
I need my payday. And then I'm good.
Yeah.
And cool, do you. I mean, Anthony Rendon's the same way.
Yes.
Get your bag. And where the fuck is Anthony Rendon?
Couldn't tell you, man. He doesn't.
I have not heard of that man other than the fact he sees baseball as a job.
Yeah. Well, we know that. And one that you're not very good at anymore.
No.
Similarly to Javier Baez. I mean, we could have an entire episode, honestly, on just the most disappointing contracts in all of baseball. Javier Baez is 100% one of them. Anthony Rendon is absolutely. Anthony Rendon could be part of the reason why the Angels are, sinking. Obviously, the Angels just as a whole have been terrible for a long period of time. But Javier Baez was just such an abysmal and terrible contract. And it sucks, too, for, Detroit because you look at Baez, and he was supposed to be that veteran presence that comes in and, teaches these young guys how to act, how to play baseball, how to be as a professional. Like I'm talking about Green, I'm talking about Torkelson, I'm talking about that next wave of prospects, right? He comes in, he's your veteran presence to be like, I want to look up to that guy. Dude, let me give you some advice, Spencer Torkelson and Riley Green. Do not listen to a goddamn thing that Javier Baez says. Do not do anything that he does. Play your own game, kids.
I got him at, I don't know what the clubhouse dynamic there, but I would not be listening to that man at all. But I want to read you out here. I just looked up Anthony Rendon's contract. Last 3 years, he's gotten paid well over $100 million.
Yeah.
Like 110, it looks like. And in 3 years, he has a OPS plus of 92, OPS of 682 in 389 at-bats, 109 games. So 3 years of time, he's played less than a season for about $110 million.
Must be nice.
That's a flop.
Must be nice right there, everybody. I mean, still kind of better than Javier Baez, but
it's still a little bit better. Yeah, you got to almost do the math of run to dollar value.
Yeah.
Someone do the math in the chat. That would be nice.
We are coming to the end here, folks, but before we do, we did just want to have one quick final topic here of discussion.
Oh, yeah.
I know that you were looking at some of those Scott Boras clients. You were looking at Jordan Montgomery. You were looking at, Blake Snell. Dude, they are not playing good baseball right now. They aren't. And please, go ahead.
I think this is, it's starting to show that Scott Boras' strategy of waiting to the final day before the MLB season to have my guys sign, to get a bidding war, is going to be a failure of a strategy moving forward, and teams are going to avoid signing those guys altogether. Because you look over at what's going on with Montgomery, he entered Wednesday's start with a 5.48 ERA,
right,
and he got absolutely lit up. They lost 9-3 against the San Francisco Giants. He allowed 6 earned runs, 7 hits in 2 innings. And you look at Blake Snell, who
he's got a 9.51 ERA.
9.51 ERA.
Negative 1.1 WAR.
He's had a slow build-up. Then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And he goes back on the IL. And you're paying Montgomery $25 million. I don't have the contract right here for Snell. I'll look it up. But you're looking at now a problem where Scott Boras has got to rethink his strategy. Because if he's thinking about doing what he did last year with these guys, I don't think you're going to get any business this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, the book is out on it, and this was a weird offseason as a whole because everybody was anticipating these guys were going to get signed a lot sooner than they did. But I think that all of this just comes back and shows the importance, especially to pitchers. For spring training, for, warming up, for ramping up to the season, for pitchers and catchers report, all of that shit, dude. Like, it truly does mean everything, especially for pitchers, because when you start a little bit later, when you're getting in, and for these guys, too, where, you don't even know where you're going to play until 2 weeks before the season or whatever it is. Now you got to move your family, you got to uproot, your wife, your kids, you got to find a home, you got to do all this shit. Your mind's not even on baseball right now. You're trying to handle all of the intricacies of life, and then on top of that, now you need to ramp up, and now you need to try to strike out Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge or whoever it is. It is very tough.
Well, in the spring training, I can get my fastball located in a game-simulated environment against a AAA guy. Oh, I give up 5 runs this inning? Who cares?
Who cares?
I'm going to keep trying to locate my pitch. It's finessing the fine-tuning details of all your pitches.
Yeah.
But now you have to do it when all these batters have already been seeing live MLB pitching. They've already played a month and a half of baseball, including spring training. And now you're trying to warm up for a month against a highly competitive, already ready MLB batters. That is recipe for disaster. And that's why you shouldn't be getting paid $25 million. You should be getting paid like 5 or 8.
Right.
Because that's how bad. That's what you should be worth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a failure, and I really do think that you're going to see a lot of changes next offseason. And I think you're going to see a lot of signings early. This offseason, we waited forever. I think it's going to change now.
Yeah, no, I think that you could be onto something there, guys. But seriously, I mean, the pitchers, they need to warm up. We are wrapping up here for the first inaugural episode of Bad for Baseball. If you enjoyed listening to us, then please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let us know in the comments, what would you like our next topic of conversation to be? Episodes are going to be coming out every single Thursday on podcast platforms and on YouTube. Also, we have all of our social media handles, Bad for Baseball, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Go check us out. This is the beginning of a generational run.
We'll put the links in the description, guys. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.